A full card prediction right here. A lot of really good fight cards, but in the first fight on the fight card, we got Ariane Carnelossi and Na Liang. This fight is a women's strawweight fight. Ariane Carnelossi, 12 wins and 2 losses. A minus 165, a slight favorite in the fight. 28 and a half years old. You already know. You see the height and reach. It is a humongous disparity between Ariane Carnelossi and Na Liang. I mean, 5'9" tall, and then 5'2" tall. That is a 7-inch height advantage for Na Liang in the fight. And then in the reach department, I mean, oh my god, a 6-inch reach advantage for Na Liang in the fight. If you have watched any of Na Liang's fights, she is relentless. She goes for like 10 takedowns every single minute. I mean, she's so relentless with how many takedowns she goes for over and over and over again. 15 wins and 4 losses right there. Most of her wins being finishes, no fights going all the way. 2 DQ wins, which I'm not really sure how that happened. But 9 submission wins and 4 KO TKO wins on her record so far. So pretty much every single one of her wins being a finish in the first, second, or third round. Definitely a grappler and has very good wrestling. She wants to get you down, and she wants to get a rear naked choke. She wants to get an armbar. She wants to get a triangle. She wants to get a submission in the grappling game. But that's going to be really hard to do against a girl like Ariane Carnelossi, who is just... She is so strong, man. You can't really take her down just because of the pure strength of Ariane Carnelossi. 12 wins and 2 losses. If you look at how she wins her fights, completely opposite fighter. 8 knockout wins, 1 submission win, and 3 decision wins. Inside the UFC, only 1 fight there, fighting Angela Hill in a relatively close fight. She was the favorite in the fight against Angela Hill, a very slight favorite, but did lose the fight by 3rd round doctor stoppage. Before that, third round knockout, decision win, first knockout win, decision win, second round knockout. She fought Gloria Apollo, who's also inside the UFC right now. Fought Amanda Ribas at the beginning of her career. That's her only other loss, which is, I mean, absolutely insane. But very good striking, really good takedown defense, and very good grappling as well. But the grappling and wrestling will go to Na Liang in the fight. Really relentless with the takedowns. Really relentless with how many submissions she goes for over and over again. But this is a clear striker versus grappler fight. If Na Liang can get her down and keep her there, she will win the fight by submission in the first round, or dominate the fight on the ground and win the fight by decision. If Ariane Carnelossi can keep the fight on the feet, she will win the fight by knockout in the first round, or win the fight by unanimous decision. It's just what's going to happen in the fight. And the thing I was kind of looking at here, because you kind of think Na Liang has very good wrestling, but you kind of know that Ariane Carnelossi is so strong for the strawweight division, and Na Liang is a little bit of a smaller fighter for the strawweight division. You saw it in the fight with Juliana Velasquez. Juliana Velasquez just used her size and her strength in the fight. She just dominate her and defend every single one of the takedowns in the fight. So I think the exact same thing will happen in this fight with Ariane Carnelossi and Na Liang. I think Ariane Carnelossi will defend most of these takedowns, keep the fight on the feet for the most part, possibly get a knockout, maybe, just maybe, but I think overall, Ariane Carnelossi will defend the takedowns, defend the submissions if she does eventually get taken down, and keep the fight on the feet for the most part, and win the fight by 29-28 unanimous decision. Should be a really good fight in the first fight on UFC 261, but after that, with Jeff Molina and Killian Iori. Jeff Molina is a grappler / wrestler, and Killian Iori, I mean, it was so hard to find film on this guy. I mean, I scoured the internet to find some film on this guy. All I know, he's super explosive, super powerful, and I mean, he has flying knees, he has head kicks, he has really good spinning back kicks, spinning back fists. I mean, he's just an explosive, powerful fighter in the flyweight division. 18 wins and 6 losses, a very slight favorite on the betting odds right here. You look right here, right? I mean, 6 knockout wins, 1 submission win, and 11 fights going all the way, winning them by unanimous decision. And then he got Jeffrey Molina. Every single one of his wins, except for one of those fights, going in the first, second, or third round. Only 1 fight going all the way. In his last fight on Dana White's Contender Series against Jacob Silva, in a fight he won by unanimous decision. Before that, second round submission win, knockout win, and submission win. And then 2 losses at the beginning of his career. He has really good wrestling and really good submission skills. This fight is just who's going to keep the fight where they want to keep the fight, because obviously if Killian Iori keeps the fight on the feet, he's going to have a very slight height advantage and a very slight reach advantage. And in the striking game, considering how explosive and how powerful Killian Iori is, he will have the advantage in the striking game, but in the clinch, in the wrestling and grappling game, in the ground and pound, these submissions, everything like that, Jeffrey Molina, he really surprises me every single time he goes out there. He does very good in the wrestling and grappling game. So this is one of the fights Will Jeff Molina get the fight to the ground? Will he keep the fight on the feet? Who knows? That is the thing we're kind of trying to predict what's going to happen in the fight. Killian Ari defends the takedowns. He will win the fight by unanimous decision, in my opinion. If Jeffrey Molina gets the fight to the ground, he will win the fight by unanimous decision, in my opinion. But Jeffrey Molina, I don't know, man. His wrestling in his last fight against Jacob Silva on Dana White's Contender Series was honestly not too good. But I saw Killian Ari in a couple of his fights against really good grapplers and really good wrestlers. His takedown defense was really not the best. So in this fight right here, I think Jeffrey Molina will get a couple of takedowns in the fight. Killian Ari will get a lot of really good shots off in the striking game in the fight. I think it'll be a really close fight. 29-28, 100%. It's a really close fight. In the second fight of UFC 261, could go either way depending on where the fight takes place. If he's in the grappling, Jeffrey Molina will win. If Killian Ari keeps the fight on the feet, he will win the fight. And in my opinion, the fight will go to the ground one or two times, maybe even 3 times in the fight, and overall, Jeffrey Molina will win the fight in a very close fight by 29-28 the unanimous decision. Again, this is a really close fight. Again, Killian Ari, if he keeps the fight on the feet, he will win. If Jeffrey Molina gets the fight to the ground, he will win, and I think he will get the fight to the ground and win the fight by 29-28 unanimous decision. After that, guys, this is literally absolutely insane. We have Zhu Rong, who is 21 years old, started his professional MMA career when he was 16 years old. I am 14 and a half years old right now. 1.5 years later, for me, that is when this man started his professional MMA career, which is absolutely insane. And he's fighting Rodrigo Vargas, who is 35 years old and has way less experience than the younger, lengthier, taller fighter in Zhu Rong here. I mean, you look at Zhu Rong. I mean, 21 years old, 5'11" inches tall, on a 10-fight win streak. Most of his wins being KOs or TKOs or even submissions. I'm gonna have a 1-inch reach advantage and then a 3-inch height advantage in the fight. I mean, everything is looking right here that Zhu Rong is going to win the fight. I mean, he's just an absolute beast of a prospect coming from China. Those 17 wins and 3 losses. Had a couple losses at the beginning of his career, but since then, 3rd round knockout win, 2nd round knockout win, 2nd round submission, 5th round submission, 1st round knockout, decision, 1st round knockout, 1st round submission, and then 2 knockout wins in a row. The man is finishing pretty much every single one of his fights. Only one fight going all the way. That is absolutely insane. 11 knockout wins on his record so far, which is absolutely insane. In my opinion, Zhu Rong wins pretty much everywhere you look at the fight. In the grappling, I think it's very even in the grappling game, very even in the wrestling game, but of course, in the striking game, Zhu Rong will have that advantage 100%. The main way I see Rodrigo Vargas winning the fight, I don't really see him winning the fight, but if there was a way for Rodrigo Vargas to win the fight, it would be to get the fight in the clinch, make it more of a dirty, scrappier type of fight, get it to the clinch, go for some takedowns, go make it more of a grappling, wrestling type of fight. If he does manage to somehow, some way, get Zhu Rong to the ground, get on top of Zhu Rong, he needs to cut him with some elbows. If he can cut Zhu Rong with some elbows in the grappling and wrestling game, I think he'll have a super good chance of winning the fight. But it's super hard to take down a guy like Zhu Rong, who has really good wrestling and really good grappling. Rodrigo Vargas is going to have a really tough time getting him down. But if Rodrigo Vargas can get him down and get on top of Zhu Rong, I think that will 100% increase the possibilities for Rodrigo Vargas to win this fight. But everything is pointing for Zhu Rong to win the fight. I mean, he's 21 years old, the taller fighter, the more lengthier fighter, the better striker, I mean, the more powerful striker, the faster striker. The only way Rodrigo Vargas is gonna win the fight would be to win the fight in the clinch, in the grappling, in the wrestling game. Even though I don't think this is wrong, is the worst fighter in the grappling, wrestling, and in the clinch game. That is the only way he wins. Because everywhere, in my opinion, everywhere you look at this fight, I think Zhu Rong is the better fighter. I'm obviously gonna be going with Zhu Rong to win the fight. But if there was a way for Rodrigo Vargas to win the fight, it would be in the clinch and in the wrestling game. But even if he does manage to get on top of Zhu Rong and win one of the rounds, just dominating on top of Zhu Rong, you guys have seen nothing yet. Zhu Rong is an absolute beast of a 21-year-old. That is insane. A height advantage, a reach advantage, very good takedown defense, really good striking, really good submission skills as well. So everywhere I look at this fight, I have Zuri winning the fight, so I think this fight will 100% be a finish in the first or second round, by first or second round knockout or submission. You really don't know how Zuri is going to win, because he wins this fight pretty much every single time by finish, and a lot of wins by submission, and a lot of wins by knockout. So my official prediction for this fight would be Zuri by KO TKO in the second round, but you never know with Rodrigo Vargas. He is 35 years old, way smaller, way less of a reach. It's just, there's no way I'm picking Rodrigo Vargas here, so 100% going Zuri to win the fight by second round KO or TKO in the fight. After that, we have a relatively close fight. Dana Bottingero, 8 wins and 2 losses, and then Kevin Natividad. This fight is a bantamweight fight. The betting odds for the fight, minus 150 and then plus 120 for the near even underdog and the slight favorite to win the fight. 31 and a half years old and then 28 years old. The height very similar, and the reach is also very similar. So no reach advantage, no real height advantage, no real age advantage either way. This fight is mainly going to be a striking fight. Kevin Natividad has some decent wrestling. We saw in the fight with Miles Johns. He has some very good takedown defense, defending 7 out of 7 takedowns from Miles Johns, who is really good wrestling. But as you guys already know, he did get knocked down in the, I believe it was the third or second round. But he does have some very good striking. Dana Bottingero also has some very good striking. You look at his last couple of fights inside of the UFC, he has shown some very good striking, 100%. In the fight with Yoto Gennady, showed some really good striking, getting the knockout in 3 minutes of the first round. With Haley Alatang, I have no idea how he lost that fight by 29-27 decision. I'm not sure if he lost a point or something like that, but I really, in my opinion, had Dana Bottingero winning the fight. I mean, 21 significant strikes to 14, 31-11, and then 33-11. I had no idea how Dana Bottingero lost that fight on the judges' scorecards, but whatever happened there, I'm not really too sure. But he is really good striking. 8 wins and 2 losses, 4 knockout wins, 2 submission wins, and 2 decision wins. If this fight sits on the feet and stays at range, Dana Bottingero is gonna win the fight. If this fight is more of a condensed fight, mainly in the clinch, or just a really close fight where Kevin Natividad tries to back up Dana Bottingero to the cage, and trying to land those big shots when Dana Bottingero is right when his back is to the cage, that is where Kevin Natividad is gonna land the bulk of his shots in this fight right here. It's gonna be really hard. Dana Bottingero has very good striking. It's gonna be very hard to back up a guy like Dana Bottingero, who is really good striking. And if you're gonna be trying to back up a guy like Dana Bottingero, you're gonna get countered. So you're gonna be trying to back him up with some wrestling or with some pretty big looping strikes from Kevin Natividad in the fight. But Dana Bottingero, he's not gonna back up. He's gonna stay in the pocket and he's gonna throw whooping shots and try to knock you out. Now Kevin Natividad has some pretty good wrestling. Could potentially make it more of a wrestling grappling type of fight, but I don't think the wrestling advantage from Kevin Natividad is as big of the striking advantage that Dana Bottingero will be having in the fight. So I will be going with Dana Bottingero to win the fight by 29-28 unanimous decision. In my opinion, the only way I think Kevin Natividad will win the fight is to mix up that wrestling and his boxing in the fight. Use the wrestling, go for some takedowns in the first round to make Dana Bottingero think, oh my god, is he going to go for the takedown or is he just going to go for a right hand? You never know. Kevin Natividad just needs to go for takedowns in the first round. In the second and third round, Dana Bottingero is going to be a little bit more hesitant to go for those bigger shots and try to knock out Kevin Natividad in the fight. That's the only way I really see him winning the fight, using the takedowns in the first and then winning the second and third round with those takedowns. So I think overall the fight most likely will stay on the feet for the most part. Maybe one takedown from Kevin Natividad, but that's about it. So for the most part, I think the fight will stay on the feet, and because I think Dana Bottingero just has better striking overall, I will be going with Dana Bottingero to win the fight by 29-28 unanimous decision. After that, we have Tristan Connolly and Pat Sabatini. I was super surprised when I saw this. You got a 2-1 favorite in Pat Sabatini, the younger fighter. Doesn't necessarily have the height or the reach advantage against Tristan Connolly. It definitely has the striking advantage here and the age advantage over Tristan Connolly in the fight. I was super surprised when I saw this, but look at the Tapology predictions. Oh my god, 1,163 different Tapology predictions. 58% going for the 2-1 underdog in Tristan Connolly to win the fight, mainly by decision. I was super surprised when I saw those Tapology predictions, considering he's a 2-1 underdog in the fight. So I'm really surprised right there. But I think the main way a lot of people are going for Tristan Connolly to win the fight is because of his last fight with Michel Pereira. I mean, he beat Michel Pereira pretty much every single way in the striking game, in the clinch, and in the ground. I mean, it was a super impressive performance, and he's a really good striker like Michel Pereira. Had pretty much double the amount of significant strikes in the fight. Then had a more significant strikes percentage than Michel Pereira. Didn't even get any takedowns. Michel Pereira was the one initiating the takedowns, and then Tristan Connolly would just reverse a position, get on top of Michel Pereira. And one of the rounds was a 10-8 round, 31 significant strikes to 2 significant strikes, 18-13, and then 15-17. A really good fight from Tristan Connolly. A very impressive fight from Tristan Connolly, but in the fight, he mainly played more of a wrestling and clinch-based game plan. You look at how he's getting those strikes. 21% were in the clinch, 42% were on the ground. So the main way he's getting those strikes off were in the clinch and in the ground game. So in this fight with a guy like Pat Sabatini, he's gonna go out there and try to get a takedown and try to get on top of Pat Sabatini and try to get a lot of ground and pound and win the fight by decision that way. But Pat Sabatini, if you guys do not know, has very good wrestling and is super good grappling as well. With 10 submission wins on his record, 2 decision wins and 1 knockout win. Tristan Connolly also has a lot of submission wins on his record so far, with 9 submission wins, 4 knockout wins, and 1 decision win. In my opinion, I think the grappling is gonna be very even. Maybe the power of the ground and pound shots from both fighters would be going to a slight advantage to Tristan Connolly, but in the grappling game, it'd be very even. I think it's be much harder for Tristan Connolly to get a takedown on a guy like Pat Sabatini, who is such a really good wrestler, such a really good grappler, everything like that. So I think for the most part, we might see 1, maybe 2 takedowns from Tristan Connolly in the fight, but overall, for the most part, the fight will stay on the feet, and in my opinion, Pat Sabatini having the age advantage, having the speed advantage, having the accuracy advantage in the striking game. I think all those things in the striking game will have him having the advantage in the striking game. So I think Pat Sabatini will have the striking advantage, and the grappling and wrestling will be very even. He's gonna have the age advantage in this fight as well. So I think this fight is going to be very even. I don't necessarily agree with the minus 225. I kind of would have had Pat Sabatini around minus 165, minus 155, somewhere around that range. I definitely wouldn't have 58% going Connolly. I definitely wouldn't have that happening. But overall, I will be going Pat Sabatini to win the fight by 29-28 unanimous decision. Just using his wrestling and grappling defense against Tristan Connolly to keep the fight on the feet and having that striking advantage to win the fight in the striking game and defend the takedowns of Tristan Connolly and to win the fight by decision. So that is my prediction. Pat Sabatini by unanimous decision, 29-28 unanimous decision. After that, we have a really good fight. Brendan Allen and Carl Robertson. This fight is a middleweight fight. Carl Robertson, really good boxer, and he has some pretty good grappling as well. 9 wins and 3 losses. 30.5 years old. 6'1" tall and a 74-inch reach. Brendan Allen, 25 years old. A little bit of a height advantage and a little bit of a reach advantage here. At 75 inches and 6'2" tall. A very slight favorite on the betting odds at minus 135 here. Coming off a devastating knockout loss, I believe in the second or third round to Sean Strickland in his last fight. Maybe it was even in the first round. I'm not too sure about that one. But he had a horrible game plan in that last fight with Sean Strickland. I mean, he went out there, that whole entire fight with Sean Strickland was spent in the striking game. He did not go for 1 takedown, not 1 takedown in the fight, which was a horrible move for him to do in the fight against a guy like Sean Strickland, who was so powerful, who was way better striking in my opinion than Brendan Allen. So that was a really dumb move in my opinion. But before that, beating guys like Kyle Dawkins, Tom Breeze, Kevin Holland, and Aaron Jeffrey, mainly a grappling performance in all of those fights right there. But in this fight with Carl Robertson, Carl Robertson has shown to have some pretty good offensive grappling. Now, I specify offensive grappling. Defensive grappling doesn't really have the best defensive grappling, but we saw in the fight with Marvin Vettori, I mean, he ended up getting Marvin Vettori's back and almost lashing in his own rear naked choke submission. But after that, Marvin Vettori got his back and then ended up submitting Carl Robertson in the fight. The tabloid predictions for this fight are insane, man. I definitely wouldn't have him as this big of a favorite. 90% going Allen to win the fight, mainly by submission. In my opinion, I either think that Carl Robertson is going to win the fight by decision, keeping the fight on the feet and winning a 29-28 decision win, or Brendan Allen will get the fight at the ground, making more of a wrestling and grappling based fight and win the fight by 30-27 unanimous decision. One of those two things, in my opinion, will happen in the fight. But Carl Robertson, if you look at his takedown defense, if we can find it right here, his takedown defense, let's see, his takedown defense is 50% right here. Both fighters have some pretty decent takedown accuracy. Surprisingly, Carl Robertson has better takedown accuracy than Brendan Allen does, which is absolutely insane. I mean, for Carl Robertson to have better takedown accuracy and pretty much the same exact takedown defense as Brendan Allen tells a lot about Carl Robertson. He's a very, very good grappler and very, very good striker as well. But I think the grappling and wrestling advantage will go to Brendan Allen. The striking advantage will go to Carl Robertson in the fight. So it just matters where the fight is going to take place. If Brendan Allen can get the fight to the ground, land some ground and pound shots, and go for some submissions, and I do think he will win the fight that way. Possibly by submission, like a lot of people are saying right here. Like way too many people are saying he's going to win the fight by submission. But most likely, if he gets the fight to the ground, dominates it there, lets it let it go ground and pound, goes for submission after submission after submission, I think Brendan Allen will win the fight by 29-28 unanimous decision. Carl Robertson keeps the fight on the feet. I think he will win the fight by 29-28 unanimous decision. But overall, I think Brendan Allen, he always finds a way to get the fight to the ground. Even though in his last fight with Sean Strickland, he did not go for one takedown in the fight, which was super surprising. In this fight, I think he will have a much different game plan. Then go for a takedown on Carl Robertson, get him down, then grapple and wrestle the whole entire fight, and get a boring, ground and pounding, grinding decision whenever Carl Robertson in the fight. So my prediction for this fight is Brendan Allen by 29-28 unanimous decision. After that, we have Dwight Grant and Stefan Zakulik. If you guys do not know who Stefan Zakulik is, he's mainly a wrestler, 12 wins and 3 losses. Started his career back in 2013. Has 3 knockout wins, 6 submission wins, and 3 decision wins. Only 1 fight inside the UFC with Ramazan Emeev. Also fought guys like David Zawada, who's also inside the UFC right now. So 2 really good fighters that he's lost to on his professional MMA record so far. But he's some pretty good wrestling and some pretty good grappling as well. If Stefan Zakulik can get the fight to the ground, he will have the advantage. He has really good wrestling and very, very good grappling. But Dwight Grant, you know Dwight Grant has amazing takedown defense and really, really good wrestling of his own. I mean, it's very, very surprising to say, but I'm not joking. Dwight Grant has 100% takedown accuracy. Not joking, look right here, 100% takedown accuracy inside the UFC, and then 78% takedown defense, when Stefan Zakulik, who's mainly a wrestler and grappler, only has 20% of his takedown accuracy. I mean, that doesn't seem too good for a guy like Stefan Zakulik going out there, and he's going to be trying to get the fight to the ground as soon as possible. So I think this fight will stay on the feet, and if this fight stays on the feet, I mean, who's going to have the advantage? It is so obvious who's going to have the advantage. That is obviously going to be going towards Dwight Grant to have the advantage in the striking game. 3.4 significant strikes landing each minute. Pretty much the same exact striking accuracy. Very, very good striking defense as well. I think Dwight Grant will 100% have the better striking. Will have a really, really good takedown defense and really good grappling and submission defense from Stefan Zakulik in the fight. He went in a firefight in his last fight with Daniel Rodriguez. Got a knockdown on Daniel Rodriguez, and then Daniel Rodriguez got 3 knockdowns on Dwight Grant, which was absolutely insane. Before that, beating Alan Joban, Carlo Pederzoli, and Tyler Hill, showing some amazing takedown defense and some very, very good striking. So in this fight, I think he will defend the takedowns from Stefan Zakulik, keep the fight on the feet, and make it more of a striking and kickboxing fight at range. And I think he will win the fight by KO TKO in the second round right here. He has a lot of power in his hands with 10 wins and 3 losses, 7 knockout wins, and 3 decision wins. But in this fight, I think he will finish the fight by second round TKO. I think there is definitely possibilities for Stefan Zakulik to win the fight. But with his last fight inside the UFC, his wrestling and his grappling didn't really impress me. So I think in this fight, Dwight Grant will defend the takedowns and win the fight by TKO in the second round. After that one, we have a really, really good fight in the main prelims of UFC 261. We have Randy Brown and Alex Oliveira. This one is a very, very interesting one. Randy Brown, the taller fighter, the more lengthy fighter, the younger fighter, so 30.5 years old, 6 foot 3 inches tall, 78 inch reach, so 1.5 inch longer reach. I believe like 4 inches taller than Alex Oliveira, a couple of years younger than Alex Oliveira. So he's gonna have the height advantage, he's gonna have the reach advantage, he's gonna have the age advantage as well. Not necessarily the experience advantage, because Alex Oliveira has been fighting for quite a while. 22 wins, 9 losses, and 1 draw. More than 30 professional MMA fights. Been fighting inside the UFC since 2015. Fighting Gilbert Burns, fighting Donald Cerrone, fighting Tim Means twice, fighting Yancy Medeiros, fighting Carlos Condit, Gunnar Nelson, Mike Perry, Nicholas Dalby, Max Griffin, I'm not even sure how to say the name, Shavkat Rakhmonov, fighting all these really good guys inside the UFC. But in this fight with Randy Brown and Alex Oliveira, I mean, Randy Brown is so well-rounded. I mean, we kind of used to know him for more of a wrestling-based gameplay, and go out there, try to get a lot of takedowns, and kind of keep the fight on the ground, get some ground and pound, and go for some submissions. But he has really evolved in the last couple of years, winning in a striking fight in the first round with Nico Price, getting a knockout win over Brian Barberena, getting a submission against Warlley Alves. I mean, what? A submission win over Warlley Alves? That is absolutely insane. And in this fight right here, he's evolved so much. His wrestling has evolved. His striking has evolved. Everything about this man has evolved. Whereas Alex Oliveira, his striking, his wrestling, his grappling has all been decreasing as the years go on. And Randy Brown has been getting better and better and better every single time he goes out there. So in this fight with Randy Brown and Alex Oliveira, even in the striking game, I will be going with Randy Brown to win the fight. And look at these strikes landed per minute, 3.67 for Randy Brown, and then 2.87. Pretty similar striking accuracy. The striking defense goes for Randy Brown, but in the striking game, I think it's very even. I will give a slight edge towards Randy Brown, considering the height and the reach advantage for Randy Brown, and in the wrestling game as well. Alex Oliveira has shown to have some really good wrestling and some pretty good grappling as well. But in this fight, I think Randy Brown also will have the wrestling and grappling advantage. Wherever you look at the fight, in my opinion, Randy Brown will have the advantage. So I will be going to Randy Brown to win the fight by 29-28 unanimous decision. In the striking game, I think he's the better striker. I think he is the better grappler, and I think he is the better wrestler. Everywhere you look at the fight, in my opinion, Randy Brown is the better fighter, the younger, the taller, and the more lengthy fighter. So I'm 100% going Randy Brown to win the fight by 29-28 unanimous decision.